Emily sat in that chair and told herself to stay calm. It wasn't working. Her hands were folded in her lap, her back was straight, and on the outside she looked composed enough. But on the inside her mind was still replaying the moment she saw those words on his phone screen, her words from her diary about his face. She pushed the embarrassment down as far as it would go and focused on what he had just said. A proposal. Carlos White was not a man who used words carelessly. He didn't say things he didn't mean, and he didn't bring people into his office for small talk. If he said he had a proposal, he meant exactly that. So Emily stayed in her seat, kept her expression steady, and waited. Carlos opened a drawer on his right, pulled out a thin folder and placed it flat on the desk between them. He didn't open it yet. "How much do I currently pay you, Miss Carter?" he asked. She blinked at the question. "You know what you pay me," she said. "I want to hear you say it," he replied. She held his gaze. 3,200 a month, she said. He nodded slowly like he was confirming something to himself. "And in your personal opinion, is that enough?" he asked. Emily almost laughed. This man had read her diary. He already knew the answer to that question in her own words. "No, it isn't," she said simply. "Good. Then what I'm about to offer you should be very easy to say yes to," he said. He opened the folder, turned it around, and slid it across the desk toward her. Emily leaned forward and looked down at the first page. At the top, in clean, bold letters, were two words that made her forget, just for a second, how to breathe. Marriage contract. She looked up at him. He looked back at her, completely unbothered, like he had just handed her a memo about a content deadline and not a document that contained the word marriage. "Before you react, let me explain," he said calmly. Carlos leaned forward, elbows on the desk, and spoke in the same tone he used for every business meeting. "Nexus Media is in the middle of a merger. The company we're merging with is called Harlow Group. Harlow Group is family-owned, been around for 60 years, very successful and very traditional. The man at the head of it, Richard Harlow, is 72 years old, and he has one condition for closing this deal. It is a condition he made very clear from the beginning," he said. Emily was listening carefully. She hadn't touched the folder again. "Harlow doesn't do business with what he calls unstable men. In his world, that means unmarried men. He believes a man who hasn't settled down has nothing to lose and can't be trusted with a long-term partnership. The deal closes in 3 months. I need to appear married before then, preferably with someone who works in this industry, who can hold a conversation at a business dinner without making things complicated," he continued. He glanced at her briefly before going on. "You've been here 5 years. You're professional, you're composed, and clearly you've been paying close enough attention to have very detailed opinions about me. That makes you more suitable than someone I'd have to brief from scratch," he said. Emily sat very still. "You want me to pretend to be your wife?" she said. "For 3 months. After that, the deal closes, we fulfill the contract period, and then we go our separate ways professionally and personally. Everything returns to normal," he said. "And if I say no?" she asked. "Then I find someone else, and you go back to earning 3,200 a month." "And we never speak of the diary again," he said. Emily looked down at the folder. She didn't open it yet. She needed a moment to think, and she wasn't going to do that properly with his eyes on her, so she stared at the cover and let herself process everything quietly. 3 months to pretend to be married to her boss, to attend dinners, smile at the right moments, play the role of a devoted wife to a man she had called hot and devilish in her private diary less than 72 hours ago. The embarrassment of that alone was enough to make her want to stand up and walk straight out of his office. But then there was the other side of it. She opened the folder to the second page. Her eyes found the number on the compensation line. She read it once, slowly. Then she read it again. 12,000 a month, she said out loud, not quite meaning to. For the full duration of the contract, plus a completion bonus once the merger closes successfully. The figure is at the bottom of page 2, he confirmed. Emily looked at the bottom of page 2, but her mind was still sitting on that first number. 12,000 a month. She did the math quietly in her head without meaning to. That was almost 4 times what she currently earned. In 3 months alone, she would make more than she had made in an entire year at this company. She thought about her mother, about Josh's school fees, about the rent that went up 2 months ago, and the electricity bill she had been silently stressing about since Friday. She thought about the savings account she had been meaning to open for 2 years and somehow never had enough left over to put anything meaningful into. 12,000 a month for 3 months. It didn't fix everything, but it fixed enough. She turned to page 3 and started reading properly this time. Terms, conditions, boundaries, duration. Everything was specific. Nothing was vague or loosely worded. It was structured exactly like any other business agreement, because to Carlos White, that was precisely what it was. She got to a clause near the middle of the page and stopped. Clause 7. Cohabitation, she said. You'd need to move into my residence for the duration of the contract. Harlow's people do their research. Separate addresses won't hold up, he said. Emily closed the folder. She looked at Carlos White across the desk. She had worked for this man, complained about him, and wrote about him in her diary like she was 17 years old with a grudge. She made herself think clearly one last time. Then she opened the folder again and picked up the pen sitting beside it. I have conditions, she said. He had expected considerably more resistance before she got to this point. Go ahead, he said. 1. This is a contract, nothing more. Whatever we do in public stays in public. Behind closed doors, we are colleagues and nothing else, she said. Agreed, he said. 2. My brother and my mother do not find out the details of this arrangement. As far as my family is concerned, this is real. I won't have them confused or treated like props in a business deal, she said. That works in our favor anyway, he said. 3. When this contract ends, my salary doesn't go back to what it was. I want a permanent raise. A real one, she said, meeting his eyes and holding them. Carlos was quiet for a moment. He studied her face like he was deciding something, then gave a single nod. We'll discuss the exact figure before the contract period ends. You have my word, and it won't be what you're earning now, he said. It wasn't a specific number, but it was a commitment. Something in his tone told her he wasn't the kind of man who made commitments he didn't intend to keep. Emily decided that was enough for now. Fine, she said. She looked down at the signature line at the bottom of the last page. She thought about Josh, about her mother, and about the electricity bill sitting on the kitchen counter at home that she had been pretending not to think about all weekend. She thought about 3 months. Then she signed her name. Carlos took the folder, glanced at her signature for a brief second, then closed it and set it aside like the matter was settled. We'll start this weekend. There is dinner with Richard Harlow on Saturday evening. I'll have my assistant send you the details. The time, dress code, everything you need to know, he said. Emily stood up, smoothed her blazer, and picked up her bag. She was almost at the door when his voice stopped her. Miss Carter, he said. She turned. Carlos White was already looking back at his computer screen. For what it's worth, the salary was already going to be reviewed at your next appraisal, he said, without looking up. Emily looked at the side of his face for exactly 2 seconds. You still should have done it sooner, she said. And she walked out.